you're not going to win everybody over at once. And I think you have to, definitely if you're leaving, if this is your side hustle, great. Keep on building on your side hustle until you're able to leave that job so you come into it. If you're going straight into this as a career, you have to think it takes time to build. I am now 15 years into my micropigmentation career. And over that period of time, lots have changed. And we've got a lot more technicians that are out there. There's always plenty of eyebrows and faces to work on, though, people. Yeah. So don't you worry. There's plenty to go around.
Yeah.
But think of all the things that you can do, because some of the things that we first might look at that's easy and accessible is social media, Instagram, Facebook. But now, especially with the algorithms, you need your clients to be commenting. You need to pump money into it. Years ago, you could spend, £50 and you would maybe get some leads back in some, motion kind of going on there. But now I think it's required to have a specific target for it. In marketing, companies can help that, but they cost money.
Hi guys, it's Holly here at Faces. Welcome back to the Face It podcast. Today I'm here with the lovely Stevie from Stevie Cosmetic Makeup and Training. Stevie, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I'm really pleased to have you on.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really pleased to be here.
You're more than welcome. So just to kick things off, do you want to just give us a little bit of insight into where your journey within this industry started and how you got into it and how you built your business to where it is today?
Perfect. So I started off, typically I'm from a small little country town in England, and I guess I didn't go to university or anything like that. I've always been kind of creative. When I left school, maybe I'm going back a little bit too far now, but when I left school, I actually went into carpentry. So I always like to work with my hands. So I know it's bizarre. I went from carpentry, and then quickly, after a couple of years of doing carpentry and being an apprentice, I went then into special effects makeup. So I've always loved horror films.
Yeah.
This is going to sound terrible on my mother now. She's probably going to, hate me if she ever knew that I was doing this. I think I found a horror film in a wardrobe, in God knows what I was doing in a wardrobe, probably trying to find a pair of high heels to put on or something. But I was really young, maybe 11 or 12, found a horror film, and then I'm a typical mummy's boy, so then I clung on to her all day and was let me watch it, let me watch it, let me watch it. And then she finally let me watch it. And it started my fascination with horror, blood, guts and gore, zombies and aliens. So then I did a college course in special effects in media makeup. I did just want to do special effects, but I wanted to work in film and television. So I was given the advice of do everything, because you'll get a much better option of jobs and you'll pick up more work. So I did that. And I guess I was very lucky. My auntie knew somebody that worked in film and television as a makeup artist. So I wrote them a little letter, and they ended up contacting me and saying, hey, I'm actually going to do a demonstration for a group of children, and it was close to Halloween, I think, at the time. So they was doing some bruising and some gory effects. So I tagged along, and then from there I ended up then working on some little short films. And I would always say this: it's not what you know, it's who you know in that industry.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I live by that quote. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things as well, is I always say, if you sit on your thumbs all day and you've got a clinic, it doesn't matter across the board of what, your industry is or your background, people have to know you exist. So you've got to shout, yourself and make people aware that you're there. So yeah, I went into that side. I worked in film and television for a little while. We had a really, really poor industry at the time, and I'm talking, this is maybe nearly 20 years ago, and so we weren't really producing so much. So from there I then worked for a company which were a makeup training company. So they supplied a brand of makeup into salons, and then you would go into the salon, you would teach them, you would also work on their clients. And then from there, a friend or a work colleague, she went and learned how to do permanent makeup. And so when she was on that course, they were kind of doing their introductions, and the trainer knew that the company had a makeup range and they were looking to expand it into a salon. So they asked her at the end of the day, would she want to do it? And she said, hey, I paid all this money, maybe I do. But she said, I think I might know somebody who does. So then I ended up meeting up with one of the directors. And then I ended up working for a company which is now known as Nouveau HD Beauty Group. So I went into there and I took the makeup range, I turned it into a salon concept, so made a display for it, created training for it. And then as a bonus, which was very, very nice of them, they actually, if I could kind of triple their turnover within the year, they taught me micropigmentation. So that started me off in the field of micropigmentation. Now, I had thought about it before, but being a makeup artist and working on different photo shoots and bits and pieces, I always felt that it kind of limited. So I thought about going to do it, but I thought, hold on, this is more permanent micropigmentation. You can't then change your features. So how could I do that with models on photo shoots? How would that translate? And I kind of felt like it was maybe a little bit more kind of pushing people into a set structure, and probably didn't have the best understanding at the time. But anyway, I got taught it, and then they asked me if I would start teaching for them. Unfortunately, the makeup range was owned by another company in the United States, and it got bought out. So we lost the distribution. So at that point, I started to then work more on the side of the permanent makeup, micropigmentation, started teaching that for them, which I absolutely loved. Now, back then, it was a lot different to what our training style is now. So at that point, I thought, hold on, as well as being a trainer for this company, I can get myself a little side hustle. So on weekends, I started to kind of go out into different salons that I had built up from previous companies and people that I had known, and thought, hey, I'm going to reach out to them and see if they would like me to offer this service to their clients within their salon. I didn't have clients myself at the time because I had come from a world of makeup artistry and not necessarily working in a salon concept and building up clients. So I really had to kind of think on my feet of how I could make this grow. And the best way for me to do it without actually doing anything was to reach out to the salons that I knew. And then they could do all the marketing for me to their clients. And I turned up and then delivered the treatment on set days. So that's kind of how I went through my career. I went from tools in carpentry, swapped my tool belt for a makeup artist brush belt, and then worked my way into the world of PMU. From there, I then taught for a long time for the Nouveau HD Beauty Group. I also was very lucky to work as their international trainer. So I got to travel the world and experience different cultures. And I think that was a really great way for me to be able to, expand my mind into different cultures, how different cultures learn, how the styles change across the world. Which is very bizarre when you come to look at some of the different styles that they have.
There's different trends and everything, isn't there? Like, across different places.
Yeah, definitely so. And it really was very different. So it was really enlightening as well to be able to experience that. So I absolutely love that. And I think it kind of adds different notches to my belt as well, making me more understanding in delivering training, which I think is really important. That one thing is always listening. I think you have to listen, and then from there you can provide the solution. So it was definitely enlightening. And then we got to lockdown. So in the meantime, over these years, 10 years has passed now or so, and I've been working on clients. I had also at this point kind of got myself a little clinic in the area that I live. And I started building up my own clinic. I've got clients on the side and I'm still training. So I'm traveling all over everywhere, but it was really good fun. It was tiring, but really good fun. You know when you're making it, when you ruin your relationships, when people start leaving you
That's
because you'll
the
never.
excuse, Stevie. That's the excuse. But I understand what you're saying, you know, because you can't make time for everyone.
No, you can't. You can't. And that now that sounds terrible now that I come to say that. But hey, so yeah, from that point, so now I've got my own little clinic. I'm still working in clinics. I think at the time I had about 11 different clinics that I was traveling to, more across the southern UK and into Wales. I did come to a point when I thought, okay, this is way too much. So I kind of knocked the clinics down a little bit and focused more on my own clinic. Coming into lockdown, we then obviously couldn't do anything. Absolutely love Nuvo. They were like my family. Karen Betts and Bridget Softly, that were both part of the Nuvo Lashes team. Karen owns everything. I always say that Bridget was like my stepmom. Karen was like my best friend. They gave me so much experience. They were just absolutely enlightening as mentors, you know, as well as being directors of their own companies and bosses to, you know, hundreds of staff. They were absolutely enlightening to work for, and their main thing was never really about money. It was about delivering training, and I will never forget that from them too. So they really showed me business. They showed me, you know, how to act in, how to be in front of students. So it was really enlightening to do that. I'd also, which I had forgotten, taught for a college at a few years before this as well. So I'd done my teaching qualifications at college, and I taught makeup at the college, and I also taught for a private special effects makeup school in Birmingham. So coming into lockdown, I ended up parting ways with Nuvo, and I still love them. I will love them to this day. But I ended up then moving on to another company called Finishing Touches Group. Now, Finishing Touches Group specialized more in working on patients. So NHS, delivering training in medical micropigmentation. So again, it is one of the most satisfying experiences that I could have done in delivering training. So I went in, I rewrote their courses for them. I delivered training on both the cosmetic scale, so eyebrows in micropigmentation, lips, eyeliner, and then also worked on the side of medical as well, with the lovely Kelly Forshaw in Dawn Forshaw that owns the company. She has built up such a great following with the NHS in working on patients. And that's really rewarding when you've got to work on patients that have suffered through trauma. And this might be burns victims, this might be medical conditions that have caused, say, loss of areola and nipples. So that was absolutely rewarding. And I still teach for them to this day. So yeah, really good.
Oh, Stevie, you've lived 1,000 different lives. Like it's
I
crazy.
feel like I've lived 1,000 different lives. Do I look old? Like
You don't look it at all. But do you know
good,
what? I can
amazing.
see how passionate you are about what you do and the industry you work in. You know, you've been in this industry for a long, long time, haven't you? Like, and one thing that I was thinking of is how the techniques have developed, obviously, since you started to now. I mean, I've not had my brows done in quite a while, but mine need lasering, to be honest, because like I love the girl that did them initially, but it's just different now, isn't it? You know, the styles are different, trends are different. How have you found sort of adapting to that in terms of the treatment that you do?
It's a really good question. I think one thing is when we first originally did it, we didn't have enough knowledge or understanding. The industry was still new, let's say. It was in its infancy. So even though permanent makeup, some first permanent makeup had been done many, many years ago in the 50s and 60s with surgeons trying out different techniques on patients, it didn't kind of boom back in until the late 80s and 90s when you had like the full founders like Karen, Bridget, Dawn, Dawn Cragg, MBE, all of these ladies that were forming what we know today as our industry. But it was still in its infancy, as well as in product manufacturing, pigment manufacturing, and of course the technique that we delivered then. We probably did things like oversaturated eyebrows with, you know, too much pigment. The style that we did, we probably delivered that pigment to China through our clients. You know, we probably went far too much and far too heavy and far too deep without having the understanding. You know, pigment manufacturing has changed over this time so dramatically, and having an understanding of how the inorganic and organic pigments work, how their longevity is in the skin, and what happens. We're not working on paper here. We're not an artist. I'm not drawing something on a piece of paper. We're working on a living organism. And as well as having external factors that can play a part, we also can't forget that we have internal factors like our immune system in the cells that have an interaction with that pigment. So things have changed dramatically. But for me, I think when you're in the world of working for big powerhouses and training academies, I think you're always pushed to be at the forefront. You're always thinking of new ideas. You don't get the time to kind of stop in potentially relax and not think about what you're doing, but you've got to keep on pushing forward. You know, you're working as leaders within an industry, so you're always trying to be at the forefront of delivering top-notch techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're totally right with that. And it's an ever-changing industry, you know, always new things coming out. And that's just how it is. And it's a positive thing. But also, I bet it's like when you look at some of the work that you did years and years ago, I bet you're like, oh my God, like
this. Like, yes, it is. Again, like if I look back at some of the things, even if I go onto my Instagram, nobody go onto my Instagram page now and scroll
I'm
back.
going to scroll
But
down.
even if I go and scroll back on my Instagram, to the point where, you know, I don't live on my Instagram. It's not attached to my hand, so you don't have to scroll that far to probably see some of my work from years ago that I now look at and think, right, I definitely need to delete this. But yeah. It's good. It's good now. I feel like the industry is at a great place and we have a much better understanding. And there are some great technicians out there delivering great treatments.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? A lot of people ask me, you know, would you ever do like aesthetics training or anything? And more recently, I've thought about if I was to do training, I'd do semi-permanent makeup because I don't know, like obviously we're kind of in the same industry, like they come hand in hand together. But I feel like the semi-permanent community is like just a nice community. Like everyone's just really cool, like really chill. That's the kind of vibe I get with semi-permanent makeup artists.
I think, but you know, over the years of training, when we first started training, I guess we tended to get just a lot of people that were in the aesthetic and beauty industry. And you know, as I come through my training career, I find out that we get people from all different parts of life, whether they're accountant, whether they've worked in an office, you know, that they want to come on board because they've seen a industry that they feel that they want to also be part of.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I speak to people all the time who are like, oh, I was a high school teacher and then I just got my brows done one day and then I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna go train and be a brow
I want to do it.
And I love
That's
that this industry is like that, where you can obviously it takes skill, like of course, and training. But if you want to make it work, like you really can, and if you want to be educated and start your own business, there is opportunity to do so. I think when it comes to semi-permanent makeup, the one thing that a lot of people struggle with, I mean, I guess with any treatment within this industry, is the client aspect in terms of bringing new business in. Obviously you touched on how you were here, there, everywhere. You know, your way of getting clients was actually contacting local salons and that kind of thing to kind of use their get their clients and do treatments on them. But with the nature of brows, for example, you might not need them doing for another year and a half. So what advice do you give to any practitioners around ensuring you're getting that constant flow of new clients through the door?
So I think like anything, you have to put yourself out there. Social media is a great way to do that, but I think social media's changed in itself, their algorithms that they do. So don't put all your pennies in one pot. I think you've got to look at multiple different ways of doing that. First, finding your base, where you're going to work from, where you're positioning yourself, whether that's at a home salon, whether that's at a clinic, it's a high street. Find a great position to put yourself in. And then how do you build yourself? You've got to look at all different ways of marketing yourself. I think one thing today is, when I started, I didn't even have a website. People came through referrals, word of mouth, and it was a lot different back then. But to a point now where, and I'm going to be honest, I've built up a big client base over that time. But when I first started, I was one of two people in my county that did it. So all the local salons around that weren't doing it back then were sending people to me. So being that I now do teach, but I don't teach as often as I did, and I mainly work in my clinic, I've had to really rebuild myself as well. And so doing so, one of those is marketing. I think marketing is one of the biggest keys. And I think when you look at businesses that are big and they're busy, that's because they've invested a lot of money into marketing. So finding the right marketing company can help. But that's when you've got money to be able to do that. Prior to doing that, I printed some leaflets off, Vistaprint Styly, or there are many other people that print out there. And I walked, yeah, I'm just getting across, I don't want to sound stiff, I'm just promoting one business. There are multiple businesses out there. I literally printed off leaflets, information, some before and after pictures, and I walked. I just took a walk and I posted them through people's letterboxes. That was a great way for me to be able to get out there, get on my legs, and be able to kind of get people knowing about my business. And you've got to continually do things like that.
Yeah.
Having an open night, inviting friends, doing a demonstration, showing people what you can do, recording that, putting that on your social media, and also recording yourself is really important. People buy into people. People need to also feel as if they get to know somebody. I always think it's a bit like Rihanna or Khloe Kardashian. Everybody buys their makeup. The reality is you don't know that person. But because you're visually seeing them all the time, whether that's them on their social media, you build trust, and it's having that trust. Another thing that I think is, if you're going into permanent makeup, because you're only going to do one treatment and then you see that client 12 to 18 months later, think about smaller treatments that you could offer. So that might be brow tinting and shaping. Not every client wants to automatically jump into having a micropigmentation treatment done, so because they might be nervous about doing so. So offering smaller services is a great way to be able to cross-pollinate with what you're doing, be able to start to talk to your clients, be able to start to tell them about what you do, and also for them to be able to build trust in you. So for somebody that might say want their eyelash enhancement done or permanent makeup eyeliner, they might not be so eager to first do that, but being able to tint eyelashes or do lash extensions perhaps is a great way to be able to pull them into it.
Yeah, do you know what, that all of those bits of advice were amazing, Stevie, and that last one I really liked. I think a lot of people feel like, going, let's say doing semi-permanent makeup and then maybe afterwards training in beauty treatments is almost a step back, and that's really not the case. But I think people have this perception of like beauty, semi-permanent makeup, aesthetics, like almost like a journey in that way, and it really shouldn't be like that. And also just touching on what you said around the leaflets, guys, go back to basics. This is what you had to do back in the day. Like,
yes,
it's so true, so easy, because
so
if you do a reel or a post, right, that gets swiped. If you put a leaflet through someone's door, that's going on their kitchen table or by the door. People are going to see that. They're going to see that multiple times when unless they chuck it in the bin, but hopefully they won't.
Hopefully not. Hopefully they'll at least scan it first, but you're not going to win everybody over at once. And I think you have to definitely, if you're leaving, if this is your side hustle, great. Keep on building on your side hustle until you're able to leave that job so you come into it. If you're going straight into this as a career, you have to think it takes time to build. I am now 15 years into my micropigmentation career. And over that period of time, lots have changed. And we've got a lot more technicians that are out there. There's always plenty of eyebrows and faces to work on, though, people. So don't you worry. There's plenty to go around. But think of all the things that you can do, because some of the things that we first might look at that's easy and accessible is social media, Instagram, Facebook. But now, especially with the algorithms, you need your clients to be commenting. You need to pump money into it. Years ago, you could spend, £50 and you would maybe get some leads back in some, motion kind of going on there. But now I think it's required to have a specific target for it. In marketing, companies can help that, but they cost money. So think of all the things that you can do to begin with that are able to build up your business, that are just at your fingertips. Nothing wrong with a nice, crisp autumn Sunday afternoon, you going for a nice walk and posting those leaflets.
I love that. And you can post that on your story. Guys, I'm just getting my steps in, got my pumpkin spice latte, doing some leaflets. Like, people love that. Yeah. You know what? I was speaking to someone the other day as well, and she was like, literally put your camera up and film you getting your treatment room ready. People love it. I find myself watching stuff like that, and all they're doing is what they do every day, which is set up the treatment room, but they're filming it.
But it's a good, people don't see this. Do you know what? There's a thing on TV, and I think it's called like How Is It Made or something like that. And I find it so interesting to watch, like all these different manufacturing industries. They might be making a rubber ball or something like that, but I still find it interesting to watch because I had no idea before. So anything like that, you get your face there, do it. It's better to have a recording than it is to have just a static picture. So definitely.
So Stevie, obviously, you, like we said, you've been in this industry for many years. You've taught, you've run clinics, you've done the medical side of things, which I think is incredible. What's next for you and your business then? What would you say the next 12 months has in store?
So I'm currently going to build my business. And what I mean by build my business is I'm going to expand it out. One thing that I have seen, I'm at a level now where it's not about money for me. It never has been about money. Don't chase the money, chase the dream. The money you're following from that. And that's one thing that I always think about this industry is over the period of teaching, there have been people that have said to me, I just want to do this because, I had my eyebrows done and she had a Range Rover, so I want a Range Rover. And I'm like, this takes a long time to be able to crack this down. So make sure if you're entering it, look for great training. Don't just follow people off Instagram necessarily that you like your work. I'm sorry, I'm just changing the subject slightly. But one thing that I have seen a lot of recently in our industry is people that have trained with people that they like on their social media. Absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. They like their style. But the deliverance in training isn't necessarily the best training that has been provided for them. Ensuring that you've got somebody that has their training qualifications, they understand things of, how people learn. We don't all learn in the same way. So having a training course dedicated to how you learn specifically is going to be really important. And big thing is also practice. Just doing a training course for 3 days does not make you a master. Practice makes you a master.
100%.
So being able to do that practice is, 100% before you can do it. Even if you go on my social media now, you'll see things like I'll often record practice mats. And I'd be sat just doing them because, I still practice now, everybody. It's important to do so. But, you go onto my social media and you can watch me doing practice mats. And there's a little bit of sometimes that ASMR, I think it's said, doing that.
Therapeutic, watching.
Yeah, exactly. But sorry, just changing the subject there for a second. I'm going to expand. Now that I've got to this certain point, one thing that I do find is I want to make micropigmentation accessible for everybody. in being able to offer an affordable treatment. I'm not talking affordable as in clear pay or, you know, Klarna or people paying off. I don't want to bring a price down in an industry at all whatsoever, because you know that there's value to it, of course. But I want to be able to have more people offering my services. So I'm currently at the moment training technicians that are going to be able to offer a more affordable price structure to people that find micropigmentation too expensive at the moment. So that's what I'm currently working on. Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting. Honestly, Stevie, I've loved speaking with you. We've got 4 minutes left. So my final, first of all, really good advice to practitioners regarding training, finding the right academy. Just because someone, like you say, just because someone might be an amazing semi-permanent makeup artist, that doesn't mean that they are a great trainer. Lucky for you, you're both. So if anyone needs any training, obviously all of Stevie's links and everything will be below. If you have any training queries or questions, he can get back to you. But just to finish off, what moment in your quite crazy career would you say is like a proudest moment, or, you know, a time that you look back on where you think, do you know what? I'm really, really proud of where I've come with this, and I love what I do.
I think the proudest moment for me is, there's a couple, so I'm going to accumulate them all into one, but it's working on patients that have suffered with trauma, in being able to give something back and them, you know, taking the mirror at the end, looking at themselves, feeling so confident, having tears of joy. I think they are some of the most proudest moments in my career. In the same way as working with a student and watching them grow and getting to that point where they're super confident. So bringing back confidence is definitely some of the proudest moments that I've had.
Oh, amazing. Oh, do you know what? I feel so like my cheeks hurt from smiling because I've just loved this chat so much, Stevie. If anybody is interested in getting their eyebrows done, so being a client, or if you are a student who needs some advice or looking to do further training, like I say, I'll put all of Stevie's information in the descriptions. Thank you so much for coming on today, Stevie. I've absolutely loved speaking with you. And yeah, I hope that we can catch up again soon. Really loved it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much as well. It's been great to chat to you.
I've loved it.